how to build a business in a new market. And we've got a terrific speaker for you this evening. He's someone that's actually done that, and he's going to be talking about how he built, and one of the things a lot of us have been talking about is security. How he built a really successful and changed his business to be very, very security focused. So I'm going to introduce our speaker. He's talking about new market penetration strategies. Again, I'm going to hand over to him very, very shortly. But he's going to be talking about, as I say, how he personally changed his business and turned it into a very, very successful security business. So please, a big, big welcome for Robert Joseph, and he's the CEO and VP of Step Ahead Solutions.
Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a wonderful evening so far, and we have heard some wonderful presentations and great talks and great insights as well. And so, while this happens to be the final talk for the evening today, however, I think I would be able to open up some windows of opportunities in the new emerging cybersecurity market space. The geopolitical situation we are currently in is just the right time for us. In fact, it has offered tremendous opportunities in cybersecurity especially, and it's the best time for you to get into business, especially if you are into the security space. So what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be the challenges, the solutions, the market space, and the penetration strategies. And I hope I will get it done within 30 minutes. So my story, why is it so important that I need to tell my story in order to talk about the new market penetration strategies? Because the prime one reason is we have actually been through this journey, and it's not something that we pulled off of a research paper or a Gartner report or anything like that. It's actually what we did to transition from what we were doing. We started in 2015, and we were primarily an Oracle BI solutions implementations partner, and our revenues were kind of stagnant because the product and the technology was kind of focused on the Oracle, and we were doing quite well there, but we were not really growing up. So a couple of years ago, what we decided was we thought let's get into the federal business, because opportunities would be much bigger than what we are currently doing. So we went through the 8A certification process, which took about a year. The federal government audited our company, and finally we were granted that. And once we thought, yeah, we got it now, let's go and do some multi-million-dollar business. But when we really got in there, it was not what we thought. It's like a forest, and navigating through the federal contracting space is pretty complex, and it's just not so easy. So in the process, what we did was, in navigating through this space, we found some golden nuggets, and one of them was cybersecurity. Because I think last year, Department of Defense, they issued a notification to all the small business saying that you guys will not be able to do business with the government unless you are compliant with NIST 800-171 cybersecurity compliance framework. And we were one of the few companies that were selected on the West Coast to be trained in cybersecurity at Northrop Grumman, along with the University of Southern California. They coached us and mentored us for the past 1 year. And we were exposed to a whole lot of cybersecurity frameworks, methodologies, processes, tooling, and so on. And in the process, we realized that with so much of information that we have, why should we stick to just delivering a product-based solution? Why not we switch over to cybersecurity? And that was the great motivation for us to do it. And when we were thinking about it, the challenges in the market was, according to Gartner, they say that by 2020, most of the companies would be in cloud in some form or other. And that also poses a great challenges for the people, because the major cloud providers are very sophisticated in terms of their offerings and solutions, and also with the current hacking and ransomware that is on the rise, cybersecurity is a concern for many people, and data privacy is also a major issue, because as you might know already, that if you are dealing with European data, you got to deal with the GDPR, and if you violate that, the fees are pretty high. It's somewhere around 4% of your annual sales, or it's I think so 2 million or 4 million euros, I believe, is the max that they charge. So, and also the state of California, starting 2020, they are going to implement CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act, and with that, if you violate any of your customers' data, you can be sure that there's a lot of levies will be charged on you. So, and also the federal government is going to regulate the businesses out here, as they've already started to do with Facebook, where they charge around 5 billion for data privacy issues. So it's going to reflect on small businesses as well. So with this, what we realized was cloud migration is pretty complex. Earlier we had a lot of discussion about cloud migrations and where the market is in the cloud. Just getting into the cloud is not a solution anymore. We got to have a lot of bells and whistles to it. So, and the other big challenge is every cloud provider they have thousands of products and service level agreements. And as a small business or as a vendor, as any consumer of cloud, you are confronted with a whole lot of products and solutions, and how I'm going to navigate through that space. So that again brings you to actually getting some skilled resources within your company and getting them trained. And then by the time they are certified and trained and able to handle the cloud providers, they switch jobs, and again you're back to square trying to find somebody. So resources is a very big problem. And apart from that, if you look at all of if you're using Office 365 or Google G Suite, there are some fine line prints. I'm not sure if you've noticed. They very clearly mention that data is the responsibility of the customer. It's the cloud providers, the solution providers, they do not secure your data. So even if you're keeping your emails in Office 365, it's not easy for you to get back lost emails. You have to go through a lot of processes to do that. And also there is a perception in the market that cybersecurity is a very expensive security to implement, especially for SMBs. It's pretty high. So and also, you know, one of the things that we found, the report that the survey results that indicated was nearly 50% of them, they have less than $5,000 budget for cybersecurity. That means they're not even aware of the implications of cybersecurity and what it could do to their business. So what we did was, after getting to know the challenges in the industry, we started to look at the small business, because that's a huge sector that's pretty much exposed. There's a lot of data out here which you can read later, but in summary, what it is most of the SMBs, they agree that cybersecurity is a major concern for them. And also they agree that they fully understand that they do not have the skill sets to deliver the value of resolving, to remediate many of the challenges, many of the cyber attacks that happens. And also, if you talk to many of the people within the even if it is a large business, they are not really aware of the security policies of the companies. Many large companies, or even mid-size or small business, they do have, for some small businesses, they do not even have a security policy. So, and large businesses, they do have security policies, but people down the chain, they are not aware of it. So there's a lot of opportunity. We really found out that we could tap into the small business space. Now, with all this information, what really happened was we are traditionally a BI and data warehousing company, and then we kind of now decided to get onto the cybersecurity. We had no skills, and how are we going to deliver this? This was a pretty daunting challenge for us. Now, should I go and fetch people from outside? That was pretty risky as well, because security is a serious business, because we are dealing with the government. We are responsible for the CUI and CDI data, the confidential data, and classified data. So we cannot just get people from the outside and pay them and retain them. And what really happens is some of the people, they might leave after they learn the skills. So this is a real challenge that we face. So what we decided was the key people in the organization needs to be trained first and know what it is. So that's what we exactly did. So I went through a CISSP certification program, and many of my team members went through the same program certification process. And apart from that, we also, as a company, started to get audited by the government. So we are going through CMMC, which is the Cybersecurity Capability Maturity Management Framework certification that we are obligated to do with DoD. So we are doing it with Carnegie Mellon University. So we are going to going through that process. Also, the ISO 27001 SOC compliance. So these are compliance requirements that is very important. So one of the things that we kind of thought about was, why should we even do this? It's kind of expensive, and how are we going to navigate the space doing all that? In spite of doing all this, are we going to get projects? That's another big question that came up. Then we decided anyway, why not do it anyway? Because this is a good process that every organization needs. You need to have, if you are in the cybersecurity business, you've got to make sure you're protecting the data of your customer. So we went ahead and did that, and soon we realized that we do have a process in place, a framework in place, and with that, we could hire anybody from the university and train them and deliver them. So this is what we decided. So we decided to have this kind of skill set, and with that, we started to target the market space. So when we SMB was our prime target, and with that, we were able to bifurcate them into three groups within 100 million, 250 to 100 to 250, and 250 to 500. Three segments, we broke them down. And later on, then the big question came up: how are we going to deliver cybersecurity? It's such a huge thing. How are we going to do that? Now, in the NIST 800 171 compliance mandate, there are about 18 groups and about 122 controls, and they range anywhere from access control to systems management. And each of these different controls, we decided to deliver them as a tool. So that's exactly what we did. So when we tried to deliver them as a tool, we decided when we enter into the market, we cannot go with the entire suite of offerings which will confuse the customer. So we picked the core offerings, which was cybersecurity awareness training, assessments, and business continuity. Now you might ask me why awareness is important. Now I think most of you are carrying cell phones, and if you check it, you might have your Bluetooth on because you're connecting to your car, and you might keep it on all the time. But that is a source of tracking, because anybody with a Bluetooth connected device can connect to your cell phone and have access to your data. So that's one of the things you need to be exposed to. Likewise, we go to Starbucks and we open our computer and we are doing a lot of things. But once in the Starbucks, you're not aware of all the security. You just connect to the SSID that's out there. But that SSID is a public ID, and anybody can hack into that and connect to your systems and get the data out. So these are things that's what the security awareness is. Also, when you're signing up in various sites, there are some security questions asked, and most of the time what happens is, it's like, when did you meet your girlfriend, or when did you get married, or which place you were born, and 90%, according to the survey, they found that 90% of the people are very honest with those answers. And it's so easy for the hackers to get that detail from your Facebook and social media. So again, you don't need to be honest with those questions. You can just give fake answers. So these are the kind of things that we deliver as a cybersecurity awareness training. Creating simulations of phishing, what type of emails to avoid. So we thought that's the most relevant thing to do, and you don't need too much of technology or anything, but just these, and we already have the material from DoD, so that's what we started to offer. So we found our way into offering this, and then we looked at the government space, which is tremendous right now. With the current administration, they are spending a lot of money on defense, and yesterday I was in a FedRAMP meeting. They told me that this year they have allocated around $96.5 billion for just cloud, of which 25% is allocated for small business. So all of you are out here who are from big and mid-sized companies. It's a great opportunity to get into the Fed space. Of course, it's a difficult space to navigate, but it's always easy to network with companies that are already there, 8A firms or hub zone firms or disabled veteran firms. You just need to have their representation, and then you can sell your services very easily and pretty quickly. So it's a huge market, and also cybersecurity is mandated now. So for starting January, nobody can do business with DoD if they are not compliant. So in the DoD supply chain, there are over 300,000 companies out there, and of that, only 1% of them are compliant on NIST. That means more than 99% of them are not compliant, and these people cannot do business unless they are compliant. So even if you tap into that, to those vendors, it's a huge, and the kind of services that we can deliver, just whatever products that you are skilled in your security realm. It could be a threat management, it can be vulnerability scanning, it can be asset management, it can be patch management, whatever it is. You can sell that as a solution for the business.
Quick question for you.
Sure.
So you're saying you can help these government entities become compliant on NIST?
Yeah, exactly. They have to, otherwise they cannot do business with the government. So without compliance, they cannot do.
So you mean all the NIST compliance?
Yeah, not all. I mean, at least, see, they have certain categories. They expect at least the CIA file to be covered, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. What are the basic controls you are compliant with? So, like, let's say, for example, confidentiality. What measures are you going to take to protect the confidentiality of your users? So, how are you going to store the data? How are you going to encrypt the data? Who's going to have access to it? Things like that. Now, if you remember, I think we are aware of the Snowden event that happened, right? So he had access. He was an administrator, but he was also a consultant. So what happened was, this access was as an administrator in the organization, but there are also administrators who are federal employees, and their level of access is different. So because he had access as an administrator, he was able to get in as an employee of the federal government. He was able to access all the information. So they discovered that as a vulnerability, and they included that as one of the controls in this now. So if you are using consultants, make sure what's the scope of access, how do you protect them. See, end of the day, what is going to happen is, the responsibility is going to fall on us, because we are the MSP and we are delivering solutions to the customer. We are responsible for it. And you know, even though we are not dealing with the government, what really happens is we are dealing with the customer's data. If anything goes wrong with the customer, we are held liable, because now California is one of the first states to implement the Consumer Protection Act, and it's going to be mandatory from January. And they will come out with heavy fine if the data.
I do want to touch on that real quick, though. I just read some legislation on that today.
Oh, okay.
It's very different than what everybody's anticipating.
Yeah, yeah,
so
exactly.
You got 25 million in revenue.
Yeah.
So not necessarily what. Yeah. By the way, CCPA is called.
Yeah.
We may all be familiar with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I know it's a crazy world out there, but just kind of, it was a big realization for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what, that's the good and bad of the you know, what is currently happening. While the businesses are growing and a lot of opportunities for business, at the same time, you know, we are exposed to a lot of vulnerabilities that we need to be concerned about. So how did we try to address the needs of the customer? Because we did realize that we have a huge market out there, and we knew that cybersecurity is very important. How are we going to reach that out? But we realized that as an organization, and also we were doing something very different earlier, and now we kind of switched over to cybersecurity. And how are we going to do that? So one way I decided it's to partner with several niche cybersecurity firms. So we partnered, we are a data partner, we use their product for business continuity. We are also partnered with Alienwall, we are partnered with SecPod and so many different companies. So we take all of their products, white label the solution, so that resolved the tooling factor of the NIST requirement. And then, of course, we had access to a lot of details from the DoD itself, the templates and all that we had. So we had all that in place. So we built an ecosystem of partners where we leverage their core competency to address the solutions of our customers. So with that, what we did was, in order to reach the government, we need to get FedRAMP certified, and we need to get GSA certifications and so on. And that's exactly what we are going through right now. Now, while this was happening, what really happened was the city of Santa Clara was, they were evaluating customer MSPs for their solutions. And when they were talking to us, one of the deciding factor was the fact that we were doing cybersecurity as a service, and that was something that they really wanted. And we just got that project signed off last week. It's a 5-year engagement for $5 million. So, you know, this was one of the first things that we got out of converting ourselves from BI, data warehousing, to cybersecurity. And already what has happened was even the FedRAMP, we had a meeting yesterday, and when they found our solution, which was very unique, what they did was they said, let us pre-authorize you and present you to all the agencies out there. So what we did was, we have a meeting next week where we are actually showcasing the business community using the data product. So that's how we started to build up relationships, and you know, building that ecosystem of partners is very important. So just focusing, even if you focus on availability, there are over 120 controls just for availability itself. So you don't need to do the whole thing, just pick what is relevant to you, what you are skilled at, build a solution around it, work with the partners and build up a team and offer that solution across. It's pretty huge. because future security, cyber security is not an option for anybody. They gotta have it. If they don't have it, they're going to be in big trouble. And cloud is also not a safe haven as such, because if you look at Amazon or Azure or whoever it is, they do provide security, they do provide all the required, the gateways and firewalls and so on. But still, if there is a breach, it's the solution providers who are responsible for it. They say we have provided you the building blocks, but how you manage it and how you deliver solutions to your client, it's the MSP's responsibility. So in that context, we have to take care of how we protect ourselves. And in all this, the human error is the weakest link. Just 2-3 weeks ago, there was a breach for Malaysian Airlines and Thai Airlines. They lost millions of dollars in the security breach, and they found out that 2 contractors were responsible for the security breach. So again, that goes down to awareness training. If these contractors were not provided the awareness training, then it could have been avoided. So the other part of the cybersecurity awareness training is there's no ROI on that. I mean, you cannot really attach a dollar value to that, because you just train somebody and just leave it across. But it's that value happens only if there is if a security breach is prevented. So that's when the value really happens. So it's kind of a iffy thing, but that's nevertheless it's kind of very important. So in our journey, what we did was, one of the things that we learned was we should not rely on we should not hire a very senior engineer or anybody like that and rely our entire business on that, because it's more important to have a well-defined process, methodologies in place to handle a solution. Because one of the things that I learned was when I was at GE, I was at Senectity, and they were doing a lot of these projects, and most of them were very successful. And most of the project managers they had no idea of IT at all. They were all from broiler. There were many of them were broiler engineers and chemical engineers from the manufacturing plant. And these people had no knowledge, but they were managing IT very efficiently. One of the things that I found was they all followed a Six Sigma process. And they made sure that they were only concerned about the process and the methodology. And they made sure things were working according to that. And they were very successful. So we thought the same applies to us as well. If you're implementing cybersecurity, you don't need to have the actual skill sets. You just need to make sure you have the compliance in place. You look good in front of the customer. When you walk into the customer and you have all these credentials like the CMMC certification, ISO 27001 certifications, you look good in front of the customers. Besides, when you work with some government entities like US military and NASA and FBI, it adds a lot of value to your organization as well. So it's always good to have a federal business as well along with what you're doing, because I know government business is very pretty time consuming, but then it's worth the effort. If you find partners who are already there, you can enter it very quickly. And always another lesson we found is you got to engage your customers not by telling the solutions, but offering value to the content space they are in and providing education and insight. That's one of the key things. And the most important thing that we also figured out was always deliver what you can, never over-deliver. Because once we over-deliver to the customer, then they expect that every time. And if you're not able to do that, then you got a sorry figure. So that's the most important thing that we learned in this process. So putting it all together, the key takeaway is the cybersecurity market is huge. So everybody can get into that space, and everybody can have a fair share of the market. And the best way to do is you can take any NIST control, focus on that, and you can deliver concrete value in that. And always engage with the partners. That's another key important thing. A lot of partners out here engage with one another and build an ecosystem of relationships which you can always leverage. And as a service model is again a very attractive model because it's not going to cost upfront for the customers. And when you go and talk to them about implementing cybersecurity, they'll be kind of daunted. I'm not going to do a whole lot of things. There's no need to do anything. Just do a free security assessment. Will get you through the door. Cybersecurity awareness training will get them through the door. Very small steps we can take, but you can give them lasting value. And at the end of the day, it's about leverage. How effectively we leverage one another in order to get the ultimate goal. So that's basically concludes my presentation. And any questions you have, I'm free to answer.
Robert, thank you very, very much indeed. Any questions for Robert?
So do you typically sell on a per employee basis or per assessment, or what's your pricing model for this kind of service?
We do the assessments like we take a particular, let's say we go to a business entity, and what we do is we find out what is their pain point, where you want to do. Let's say if they have problems with all the software, then we do a patch assessment and of the various software of all the servers, and then we provide them a report. If network is an issue, then we do a network assessment and we provide a report to them, and then we kind of provide them advice on what they need to do. So till then, it's a free service that we provide. We don't charge them anything. And later on, they come back to us and they say, oh, okay, how can we do this? Can you help us out to do this? And that's where we get our revenue doing those remediation services. So even the secure cloud service that we offer, what we do is we take the cloud infrastructure as a service and we give a price point that is cheaper than Amazon and AWS. But what we do is we start layering with the security profiles like NIST 800 stuff. So, and some of them by default we say we cannot provide infrastructure without that. So we make sure we provide the malware, we provide the test management, all the basic things we provide. So that's where we add our service cost to it.
So Robert,
Sure.
I'm curious what the roadmap might look like to get my staff up to speed with the certifications and so on. What would you say the lowest hanging fruit is for us to start working on first? If we're gonna be working with federal government contracts, where do we start?
See, to work with the federal government contracts, it's the easiest way to do is to work with companies that already have a contract with the federal government. Because that's the easiest way to do, because they already have an ongoing contract with the government and they are working with it, and they can do a subcontract with you. So at that time you can insert your services to them and you can do it. The nice thing about the government is what we are right now doing with Dato is the business continuity. We are coming out with a price catalog for the FedRAMP. So once that price catalog is approved by them, then that is accepted by all the agencies for a period of 10 years. So and they are by default provided access to it.
So you're talking about GSA schedule
GSA,
or something like that?
And you can also get the schedule. You don't need to be a federal contractor to get GSA schedule. So that is again, another thing we found doing GSA schedule is when we go to the customers, there's less bargaining with them to do when you present a GSA schedule, because we tell them, look, this is something the government approved. So how can we give you something less than that? And they automatically get that. So that's one way to, cut your negotiations with the customers.
Yeah, two quick questions.
Yeah.
So the first one is, for your assessments, is this a kind of a custom built assessment, or do you use tools like Network Detective, or maybe like Audit IT, or My IT
We
Process?
use tools to do assessments because different environments. There are so many different environments we are using. Some of them, if you go to some of the federal sites, they use those navigational systems and so on. It's so different. So we use different tools for that. So that is why in our business we need to develop a whole ecosystem of service providers, because what happens is these federal contracts are huge, and when we get these contracts, we will not be able to do everything. We'll only be able to do 10% of that. 90% of it needs to be to other people. So that's how we do it. But the thing is, we get authorized to do it, so that it takes a long time to do.
Gotcha. So you're almost like a kind of a general contractor.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so on that, do you have a standard endpoint protection that you recommend, or do you depend on that for the MSPs that you sub out?
What was it?
Like endpoint protection.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a standard that you use, out of curiosity?
We don't exactly use a standard or anything, because see, if you look at the contracts in the government, it's very different. It's not like how we do it in the commercial space. One is they have legacy systems. We are doing business with the FAA. They are still on Windows 7 platform.
But I'm curious, but isn't that the reason why they employ you?
Pardon?
Isn't that the reason why they employ you? Why they're paying a lot of this money to come in there to leverage your skill set or your knowledge on saying, hey, listen, here's the standard you should have.
No, the thing is, they will not right away get on to the most current level. Like let's say, for example, most of the federal in the enterprise application space, they will be on Oracle 11. They will not be on Oracle 12. They will say, even though that's the default thing from Oracle, you try to upgrade it, they will not do it. They will say, let that be matured in the market, let it take 3 or 4 years, then we will do it. So they're kind of slow in that respect. They will not, like, as I just said, FAA, they still have Windows 7. They have not gone into, the Microsoft said, we will not support it. You are on your own. But now they are waking up and they're slowly getting on to a program to upgrade it. So that's the problem.
They've got 3 months.
Yeah. That's a problem there with them.
Big time. Yeah.
Most of the federal installations are like that.
You said the FAA is on Windows 7? They don't have like
Yeah, they are still on Windows 7.
They're landing planes at the airport.
But they have special arrangement with Microsoft.
3 months time. Microsoft will extend So my question was, how did you guys bypass the TSA schedule